And here it is. We look ahead to after week 15 in the NFL. Looking at the NFL playoff picture, man, we have a lot of teams who I think have secured their spot into the playoffs. We have a lot of teams who are still trying to get in. But here's my opinion. I'm going to start with the AFC. You have the Chiefs at number one, Bills at number two, Steelers at number three. Texans at number four, Ravens at number five, Broncos at number six, and then the Chargers at number seven. Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals all sit inside of the hunt at a 7-9 record. I think is what it is, 7-7 and something. But here's my thing: when you look at 1 through 5, they've already clinched the playoffs, regardless of what their placement is. They are all in the playoffs. And then when you look at 6 and 7 in the Broncos and the Chargers, in my opinion, I think those two teams have also clinched. I think there's no way that those two teams don't make the playoffs, and I think we're gonna be in for a really good playoffs. I mean, three of these teams are AFC West teams with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos, and there are three teams who are very dominant. You have two AFC North teams, if I'm not mistaken, with the Steelers and the Ravens. I mean, we have in the NFL right now some of the most competitive football when it comes to every single conference, every single division. And so I'll be interested to see what happens. I think right now you should look at this NFC or the AFC. The Chiefs, maybe I think there's two teams who are the top dogs right now. You have the Bills and the Chiefs. I think the Ravens are there and they want to be there. I think the offense of the Steelers is a little lazy, not lazy at times, but they don't really put out what they need to. And we've seen them lose, two of their last three or three of their last three games, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are struggling right now especially with losing George Pickens, and that doesn't sit well with the offense who's struggling to score. But for the most part, when you look at the AFC, it's going to be a slug match every single game. And I think if you give the Chiefs another week to just relax and another week to get healthy, you're going to make them nothing but good. Something the Chiefs that does really well in the NFL and when they approach every single game is when you get to the fourth quarter, their whole goal is how do we win? How do we come out on top of this game? How do we effectively win the game? And I think they have shown that they can do that at a very high level. And so that's why I think the Chiefs are arguably still the best team in the AFC. I think the Bills are at a close first or second. So going up to the NFC, though, you have the Lions who have been riddled with injuries at the number one spot. I think to me, like that is the biggest downfall for the Lions is how injured their offense and their defense is as well. Hopefully that won't be a barrier for them, but I think it definitely isn't a good sight for any team to go into the playoffs limping into the playoffs, especially a team with such high expectations and hopes. You have the Eagles at number two. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number three. You have, or is Tampa Bay or Atlanta? One of the two are sitting at the number three spot for the NFC South. You have the Rams at number four. At number five, you have the Vikings. At number six, you have the Packers. And then at number seven, you have the Washington Commanders. It's amazing looking at the NFC North when you look at the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. Three teams who have over 12 wins, if I'm not mistaken. Three teams who have showed in this recent time that they can be some of the most dominant teams in the NFL. And I think one of the teams that I've slept on and not really paid attention to much this season is the Minnesota Vikings. But I watched their game against Seattle, and I watched their game 2 weeks ago as well on Thursday Night Football. And this team is complete from offense to defense. And you can say that about the Packers as well. You can say that about the Lions as well. They all are so complete as football teams that every single team should be worried to have to play one of these teams. I think Tampa Bay losing to the Dallas Cowboys this week definitely wasn't a good shot, and it definitely did not help them out at all, especially when preparing for the playoffs. And I think the Commanders, man, they upset the Eagles, or they beat the Eagles this past week. Jalen Hurts, he's down with a concussion. How long will he be out? There's just so many questions, so many different talking points and conversations that you can hit when it comes to the NFC. And I mean, you have to look at it. There's going to be a divisional rematch in round one against the Eagles and the Commanders. I mean, the Eagles, if their team can defensively hold and be structured, they'll be fine. But if their offense, makes their defense have to play a lot of extra football, it's going to be really tough on the football of the Eagles. So, but yeah, the best team in the NFC, in my opinion, is the Detroit Lions, even with the injuries. You can argue that the Vikings are up there as well. But regardless, let me know what y'all think about the playoff picture for the NFL after Week 15.